How to create a GeoFence that launches content or checklists. So one of the most powerful features of PinPoint is the ability to deliver tasks, information, checklists, inspections, documents, anything you want based on where a team member is located. So maybe you want an inspection to appear when your inspector enters a specific job site so they always remember to do it. Or maybe you want a video on proper personal protective equipment, to be delivered to workers when they enter a certain building. The options are endless and very, very useful. So learning something, or being presented with tasks at the actual location where that knowledge or action is needed is much more impactful than if it's delivered, at another time and another location, and then it needs to be remembered or retrieved at another place, another time. So, how do we do this? How do we trigger information or a task to be delivered when a team member enters a location that we define? Well, it's pretty easy. We create a GeoFence. So geofences are these imaginary boundaries that mobile devices can recognize. And to create one, all we have to do is tap this plus icon here next to the PinPoints button. And then on the create screen, we see all of the types of pinpoints we can create. And in this case, we want to create a geofence, which is right up here in the right corner. And tapping that takes me to this create geofence screen. Now, working my way from the top to the bottom, the first field is name. And this is how I'll be able to recognize which geofence I'm using when I assign it to, whatever it is that I want to deliver when someone crosses this imaginary geofence boundary that I'm creating. And I want to name it something that I recognize because eventually, you'll probably have many of these, and you need to know which one it is and where it's at. So let's call this one just kind of an imaginary location here, but let's call it Warehouse B. All right, so Warehouse B. And I'm going to set this geofence around Warehouse B, and this descriptive name will tell me where it is. Now, I have two ways I can set the center of my geofence. If I'm actually at the location, where I want the geofence to be, I can simply tap this button, the Set Geofence at Current Location button, and voila, PinPoint automatically sets it at my location. Now, if I'm not at that location, I can be miles away. I can be half a world away. I can simply enter the address directly into this address field. Next, I want to set the radius, and the radius this determines how big the geofence actually is. By default, it's set to 200 meters. Which means mobile devices, they'll recognize that they have entered my geofence when they are 200 meters away from the center. But by tapping on it, you can see that I have other options where I can make the boundary larger, 500 and 1,000 meters. Okay, the next field is notification. This is the message in the alert that users will receive when they enter the geofence. Now, this is optional. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have it say, so when my users pass into my geofence, past the boundary, it's going to say, you have arrived at Warehouse B. Activity required. Okay. This way, the recipient knows that they should tap the alert that they're going to get on their phone when they pass the boundary and complete whatever the activity is that I attach to this geofence. Now at the bottom is the Add Notes field, and this is where you can add notes for yourself. So when you're happy with everything, just simply tap Done. And if we navigate back to the home screen and tap the Pinpoints button, we can now see that our new geofence has been added to the top. Now, let's attach the geofence to an assignment. So navigating back to the home screen, I create an assignment by tapping this plus icon here next to the All Tasks button. Now, on the Create Task screen, I tap the assignment button up here in the left corner, which takes me to the Create Assignment screen. Now we'll work our way from the top to the bottom like we always do. I'm going to skip adding an image to this assignment, but always try to add one if you can. In the first field, let's name our assignment. Okay, so fire extinguisher inspection. Okay. Next, you'll see a switch that lets us add ourselves to the assignment, in case we want to participate in the completion of this assignment. In this case, I'm sending this to my team members who are, responsible for inspections, and I'm not one of those people, so I'm going to leave it off. Now, we have 3 buttons here in the middle that determine what the assignment will contain, add assets, which is mandatory, who will receive the assignment, add people, which is also required, and whether or not the assignment will be triggered by a location, which is the only optional one of the 3. And it's not just a location, so it could be a scanned barcode or QR code or an image, any of our PinPoint types. But for this example, we're focusing on adding a geofenced location. So let's start by adding our assets over here. I'll add the fire extinguisher checklist from my asset list. Okay, and keep in mind, I can add as many assets as I want, but for this example, we're just assigning a checklist that appears on our team's phones when they enter this specific location that we've defined. So now we want to add the people we want to receive the assignment. Okay, now the fun part. Let's add that pinpoint that we created earlier. And by assigning this pinpoint to the assignment, once again, I'm telling PinPoint that I only want the people that I've assigned this to have access when they are at the specific location that we defined with the GeoFence. If I were not to assign a pinpoint to this assignment, if I left this blank, my team would receive the assignment and not be constrained to only accessing it at a location of my choosing. It would be more of a standard assignment. Next, down here, we set the start and due dates. When will this assignment be available and when do we want it completed by? In this case, I'll start it right now, and I'll set the due date for a few days from now. So we'll give them a few days to complete this. The instruction field here allows us to provide some instructions for the people who are accessing the assignment. And these instructions can be accessed in the assignment itself by tapping on, there's an instruction icon at the bottom of the assignment. And it's optional. I'm going to leave it blank for the sake of time, which brings us to our advanced setting. And advanced settings offers some really handy options. Let's see, you can make it a mandatory assignment, which marks it as such. You can track the completion location, which actually records the location where the user completes the assignment. You can also require the user to digitally sign the assignment before they complete it. And this signature is saved along with the rest of the user's activity for future reference, if you need it. And here, you can choose to send the assignee an automatic email informing them if the assignment is overdue. Here, you can choose to send email reports to yourself, which report the completion status of the assignment for everyone that you assign it to. And then finally, if you'd like, we can set this assignment to recur at regular intervals. So, perhaps our fire extinguisher inspection is required to be completed every month. So we can set the recurrence to monthly. And I can set how long the assignment will recur. So, how often, how long will these recurrences last? And now my team will receive the assignment every month. And when I'm happy with everything, I can tap assign. Okay. And then if I back out and tap on the All Tasks button here on the home screen, I can see my new assignment at the top of the list. So now, when my team enters Warehouse B, where we set up our GeoFence, they will be notified on their mobile device and have access to a monthly inspection, which they're required to complete.